Pennsylvania Congressman Mike Kelly is one of them, one of the 90 Republicans who voted no on the bill and sits on the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, welcome. First of all, why did you turn thumbs down?
Well, you know, first of all, I think that when you receive an almost 2,300-page bill at 8 o'clock the night before you're supposed to vote on it, first of all, I think it's very disrespectful, not only to members of Congress, but also to the American taxpayer. We needed to know exactly what was in that bill and to be able to debate it. I think the problem that I've had since day one of getting here, because I come from the private sector, when you know you have a deadline coming, but you wait to the night before to do it, I mean, for many of us, listen, if you did your term paper the night before it was due in class, and then you flunked, you really only could blame yourself. And I look at this happening, and I keep hearing it's a broken process. You don't understand it's a broken process. And then my answer to that is, well, if it's so broken, and we already know that, then why don't we fix it? I think this is a horrible position to put the American taxpayers in and to put members of Congress in, and more importantly, the President of the United States, who spoke very clearly he didn't want to sign this bill, but our men and women in uniform are the people that he was most concerned about. And I think that's something that makes sense to all of us. But I just, at that point, I said, really, the night before, 2,300 pages, and you want me to be able to sit down and say to the people that I represent back home, listen, you just don't understand it. Because the answer to that is truly, they don't understand it. I don't understand it. And we don't need to keep doing this.
And they said that some folks didn't even read it. I mean, look, it does give the military a very needed boost, $700 billion to help rebuild the military, starts $1.6 billion on the wall. But at the same time, you just talked about the process. Why are you guys doing this all the time? You know, you're going to face this again in September. The president said he's not going to sign it again in September. So what happens when you hit that wall?
Well, you know, we have 6 months to get ready for that. And I keep going back to, if the process is so broken, and we're looking at it, and we know that when it comes to items in the Senate, especially when it comes to budget items, you have to have 60 votes. We have 51 Republican votes.
So how do you fix that?
So in order to get to an answer, well, what you fix is do away with that. You know, in my world, a majority is a majority. One, you win by one, you win. You don't have to sit back and say, no, we got to win by 10. That doesn't make sense. And again, this, I think, was put in place to protect people from taking really hard votes. And for me, a hard vote for me is not a hard vote when it protects taxpayers, and I vote in their best interest, in the interest of the country, and say, yeah, but you know what, back home, there's some people that question that vote. What they really question is our ability to actually get our spending under control. Nobody in the private sector would look at this and say it makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
Congressman, you talk about getting the spending under control, and this has got to be fixed. Let's take a look at the debt clock. You know, the debt clock, there it is. It's just spinning it's like a one-arm batted out in Vegas, and it only goes one way, it seems. Up and up and up. Finally, how do you lasso the rhinoceros of the out-of-control spending in Washington and have some political accountability finally and get that process fixed?
Well, but Eric, you just hit on it. It's political accountability. And by having processes in place that allow you to dodge your responsibility and say, you see, you just don't understand because of the rule of having to have 60, we had a compromise on it. Here's what the American people know. You can't continue to spend more than you're bringing in and hope that somehow in the future it'll take care of itself. And I tell people all the time, if you think things are going to take care of themselves over time, let your lawn go for a month or two and then tell me, oh, it's going to take care of itself. We have a spending problem that is so over the top. $20 trillion and climbing. We want to take care of our military. We want to protect the American people. But in order to have sustainable programs, we have to do away with programs that allow people to make bad votes. And by that, I mean, listen, that 51 vote, that's all we need. And the other thing, line item vetoes would help.
Yeah,
and then how about separating the military funding?
First of all, the Senate said we're not going to go down to 51. And the line item veto was ruled unconstitutional in 1998 by the Supreme Court.
Right.
So what do you do
how about this? How about if we do this? How about if we say, when it comes to military, that's a separate spending bill altogether. Both parties use the military, hold the military hostage in order to get the things that they want. And they said, this is better for me back home. I would suggest separate the military funding. If we really want to take care of our men and women in uniform, then separate it, make it a separate piece. And the other parts, if you want to have a debate over it, why not just go back to the appropriations process? In the House, we passed every one of the 12 appropriations bills, sent them to the Senate, and they weren't acted on. So when we talk about these things, people talk about Congress. Well, Congress is actually made up of two bodies. There's a House of Representatives and there's a Senate. I don't want to get on my Senate colleagues, but I am so tired of hearing is you just don't understand. And I said, I'll tell you what, you go back home with me and you tell people that are working two jobs to keep the roof over the head of their children, food on the table, clothes in their back, and something for the future. You tell them that they don't understand. Here's what they understand. Well, it's not working in their best interest.
We're back now with Pennsylvania Congressman Mike Kelly. Congressman, you were saying you were going to try to protect the military budget. Can there be a new process in Washington to do that?
Well, Eric, listen, there's nobody out there in the private sector or running their own budget that would say these are things that are impossible to do. Of course they're possible to do. You just have to have a complete buy-in to do it that way. A deep respect for the American people, the American taxpayers, is the thing that's needed more than anything else. I know we're all running for re-election, but let's do what's in the best interest of the people that sent us here to represent them. We are the stewards of their money. We're supposed to do it the proper way.
I know, and we hear that
right.
all the time, and yet you get these budget impasses and these cliff-hanging deadlocks where the president says he's forced to do something that he really doesn't want to do.
Right, he got boxed in, but now we have 6 months before this spending runs out. I would tell the people in leadership right now, do not come before me the night before our bills due and say this is what you arrived at. If we need to have meetings right now, start them when we get back. Let's start moving in the right direction. But I do think separating the military spending is a powerful bargaining chip that both parties have used in order to drive an initiative. Let's do the things the right way for the right reasons, and good things will happen. I am really concerned that the process is so broken right now, and what's holding it up from being fixed are the people that absolutely are in a position to change the process. We have to change it.
And finally, 20 seconds left. What would you say to the president? Don't sign the next one?
I would tell the president exactly, listen, I don't tell the president anything. He's strong. He's stronger than 10 acres of garlic. He already made a statement that said, listen, I am not signing another bill like this. If members of Congress and members of the Senate think he's kidding, please do not try this man on. Let's do what's in the best interest of hardworking American taxpayers. That's the answer. Do the right thing and stop worrying about things that aren't that important right now. But funding our military was absolutely critical. That's why the president signed it.
All right, Congressman Mike Kelly, I don't know what the smell like, what 10 acres of garlic would be like, but, you know.
It's bad. It's bad, Eric. It's bad.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.